Hi, you've been many to ask me many questions why I decided to move to San Francisco, so I thought I should put them all together, which I did in my virtual advisory board. You're welcome to join on Facebook, and I gathered them to answer them now. So here's the list. So it's been a long time I've decided that it's not like new, there's nothing new. It's been like 10 years I've been willing to do so, and I've not done so mainly because well, I thought the opportunities were very good in Europe. They are still, but I needed a change, and also basically my family, my wife didn't want to do that move, and now she finally accepted. So it's been a long time. It's not something I just kind of decided. The 10 reasons why I made the move is first probably because San Francisco and the Valley area is the center of the world for the internet innovation, and even though the world is flat and we're all a click away, I guess for the networking and being at the center is much better. Like take an example of Twitter against Jaiku. I love both, and I love the Jaiku founder that I know, but you can see there is a growth in the Silicon Valley of San Francisco companies at the beginning, which is better because just they kind of meet they are with the, being in the network helps. Like you get TechCrunch, you get bloggers who have more authority to talk about your company, I guess. You get more press, you get more global sooner. So that's one of the reasons is just to be at the center. I'm not saying it's not possible in Europe, it is, but it goes faster there, and I've been always been remote for 12 years, so this time I want to do it at the center and see where it goes. The second reason is it's very good for my kids. I have 3 boys, and you see my accent. It's terrible, but so they'll speak better English than me in 6 months and have a great accent, and I think they'll keep this as an asset for all their life. It's a great area to live in, of course. I love kite surfing. There is the sea there. Paris is nice too. I love it, but I think it's a good region to live in, except the earthquakes, of course, that nobody talks about. Let's see, it doesn't happen much. So. It's a very good area for entrepreneurship, of course. It's like geekland as well. So what I like very much, it's each time there is something that happens. Well, there are 9 chances out of 10 on the internet that it started there, and you can meet the founder. He's like a street away or very, very close to you, which is very enjoyable. The innovation spreads faster there as well, just because it's the only concentration I know to that point. Like everybody is at the same place. So there is a lot of innovation in Europe too, but we're not like we're in Paris, in Madrid, in Stockholm, in different places. So it does happen, but it's not as usual. I like the success of entrepreneurship, of course, the spirit of entrepreneurship there. So basically, if you start there and you succeed, of course it's great. If you fail, it's okay, try again. Whereas the same in Europe, and especially in France, sometimes is if you succeed, you should rather hide, and if you fail, well, don't ever start again. You suck, and go back to where you've been. So that I like too, this spirit. It's changing in Europe, I think, and I'm not complaining about it. And I think I've tried to help it as much as I could, at least in France. But it's a big difference, which I like and which I think will be good for the kids. I mean, I've been there last week, and I've met a few people. I've met a young guy who's 24 years and he's already 10 years, in technology, and he also created several startups already. He's only 24, so I think it's really good atmosphere. The market size at launch, of course, is important. You start by US domestic market there, you start in English, you can gather a team which is totally, not global, but probably, yeah, actually global. In Silicon Valley you have people from all over the place, but you have also much more, it's easier for you to switch your brain to, of course, English, and do it by default in English, whereas here you have a tendency, which is normal, to start like in German, start in French, and then go global. I'd like to do the other way around, is like be global first and then localize probably. It's easier to find capital, business angels, and VC money. Well, I would say finally, it's fun to change everything in your life. I'm almost 35, and I think it's just cool to like try something else. And I'll come back, of course. Even though Jeff, my friend Jeff Clavier, who lives there, tells me I will not come back. I think I will, but we'll see after 4 or 5 years probably. And now, so a few questions you had, actually many questions you had directly, so I'm going to go through them, try to order them. So would you advise friends and entrepreneurs to do the same? I think we shouldn't empty Europe, but it's a good opportunity, of course, if you can take it. If you're a student, like go a few years there, I think it's good. That was one of the questions my readers asked. Is it because of French tax? It's not, of course. California is not known as a tax haven, so no. Do you plan to come back? I've already answered that. Could you not stay in France? Yes, I could, and I could, of course, do it from here. I've done 4 companies already. Again, I mean, it's a different challenge. And if you look at Europe, there are many friends I have which did great successes. I'm having lunch today with Maxime Orsini, the head of Mythic, and he's a hero. If you look about it, if you look at it, he has created Mythic, the #2 dating site in the world. Is I think in 20 languages, which is very difficult to do. And so he has been through steps which are very difficult to do, especially if you're not in Europe. And so yes, it's doable. And also he refused to sell his company many times to US players because he just wants to keep it European. And he's an exception. If you look at it, actually, the bulk of the entrepreneurs sell. Like most of the internet sector is entirely US dominated. Search is Google and Yahoo. Look at e-commerce with Amazon, eBay with auctions. All the European companies, or travel with Last Minute, Brent Oberman, who launched Last Minute, then sold to a US company. So most of them are US now, and it's a pity, of course. So it's doable, but it's more difficult, I would say. Now, if I talk about this to Mark, and you should watch a podcast I did with Maxime Orsini of Mythic, is basically he says it's difficult, but if you have done it, then you're actually very well in shape and protected, because it's also difficult for the others. Will France be ever at the same level as the US? And what should be improved? So I've had the opportunity to help at the time the candidate Sarkozy, now the President Sarkozy, in his presidential campaign, and I thought a little bit about these topics and also produced a recommendation. I think what should be changed, and it's not only in France but in the entire Europe, is the internet ecosystem, which is basically not broken but like very slow. So start at school teaching entrepreneurship and English. We don't speak English enough. Look at my English in Europe. And so that's a first, because like English is TCP/IP for the internet. It's a common language, and I'm always amazed, except in like countries like in Scandinavia where you take a cab and they speak perfect English. The southern you go to Europe, the more difficult it is, and that's not good. So fixing this, more education about entrepreneurship. At least in France, we don't educate enough the kids on entrepreneurship, and that's a pity, because of course they don't even think they can do it, because they were never taught. It was not so difficult to create. So education and internet education as well. We, I think, focus too much on the past, not enough on the future, and it's an entire economic sector which is rising right now, and it's not, I think, pushed enough in education and by the government. So I'm hoping it's going to change. Then, of course, when you start a company, so this produces not enough entrepreneurs, and it's coming from the education. So I would say more entrepreneurs by telling them they can just do it. Then, of course, it's a question also of capital. So not enough business angels, not enough VCs, or not enough risk-taking VCs at seed at the very, very beginning, because a bank would never lend to an entrepreneur. It's too risky, usually in most cases. So here, what I think actually Sarkozy will take, and actually committed to do it, is to make the business angel, the investment in the startups, being taken out of some tax, and especially the wealth tax in France. So if you invest in risk, you create jobs, then you don't get it in your wealth tax. So it's basically to put the money out of non-risky and more on the risky startups business. So that's gonna help the entrepreneurs, I think, and that's a very, very good thing, and I hope President Sarkozy will do it. The other part, of course, has to do with like the entire atmosphere towards entrepreneurship, and people like less, focusing on past risk and maybe complaining sometimes. When I saw in France the students in the street last year complaining about flexibility at work, they are scared, but they were not taught they could join one of a million people who make a living on eBay, for example. So I'm hoping it's going to change, but I think this is something which is going to change, and I'm willing to help, and will try to help from the US. I actually have very, very good contacts, of course. Another thing which is important is to help this individual entrepreneurship, especially with the internet. And here as well, it's an idea suggested to take out the tax and help the entrepreneurs on eBay. On whatever Price Minister or whatever internet activity at start, zero tax if you start to do it, so that people can create their own companies more easily, and of course with help and education. So that gives me a transition with a question of how can I leave the country, as I helped for a few months the president win. To my level, of course, which is like nothing compared to everything that happened. I kind of advised a little bit on the internet, did Second Life Sarkozy Island. I helped gather 1,000 bloggers to back him and of course backed him on my own blog. So of course many people wonder why I am doing this, as he won. Basically the opposite opponents would have won, and especially the socialists. It would have gave me a good reason, but it's not the case. Well, basically because again it was planned for a long time. I've always said I would come back to business after a few months helping Sarkozy. So I'm just doing it. So we're getting to the end. Can you repeat why? How are you moving? How do you manage to keep a healthy relationship with your family doing that? Well, it's a common decision. Again, it took time, and we decided all to do it. The kids were not easy at the beginning. They were afraid to lose their friends, and now they're fine, I think. They are actually excited. They show off everywhere saying we're moving. Is it a hard or easy move? It's a hard move. It's not easy. You need of course a visa. You need to move all the stuff there. So I don't know. Basically, I'm in the process of doing it, but it's doable. So many people do it. I've done it. Unfortunately, it looks like entrepreneurs and investors are welcome there. So it's not that difficult, I guess. It's not like moving in another European country, but it's not difficult. So what I'm doing there, which is many questions on that too, I'm going to start a new company and trying to focus on video content. As you can see, I do a lot. I do one per day now. I committed to do this, and sometimes completely ridiculous podcasts, but like on the Dead Sea with Ola Olvarsson. Ola, if you see me, you should check this one. It's we were sitting on the Dead Sea and did a podcast there. So it's from like fun into helping helping the conversation, which I'm hoping to do on this one. So I feel there is something happening in video which is new, and which of course we don't see on TV, and I'm not the only one thinking that, basically. And I'm going to experiment in this field and do it, the way I learned, always in beta, always with you, my community. So I've gathered yesterday an advisory board on Facebook. You can check it. It's just my name, Loïc Lemer, in one word, and basically try to understand this phenomenon. We've not seen anything in video. It's not because YouTube is a huge success that it's going to be the only one. I think there will be different new ones. So I'm hoping that I'll get also a lot of support from you guys and help to find not what I'm going to do, but what's gonna change in video. Wow, it's very noisy today, but you have a Paris atmosphere here. So that's I don't say much yet, except it's almost funded already. But bear with me and actually help me build it if you want to. It's going to be a fun experience and a challenge, of course, for me. Fears. What are your fears? Well, an entrepreneur is always feared about like failing, but I've been living with this for 12 years. Of course, for me, it's a big change because you move from an environment here where so I have a very strong network in Europe. I get, like in the press, I know many journalists, I know the VCs, so it's kind of easier for me, not easy, but easier. And so it's another challenge which I hope I will go through there. But I have so many friends helping me in the Valley and in San Francisco already, introducing me to people that I think it's going to be fine. And there nobody cares where you're from, I think, at least. So we'll see. So that is not a big threat. Failing a business, of course, is one too, but that's the one you have to live with as an entrepreneur. I would say that I would be scared that my family doesn't like it. We'll see, but I don't think it's going to be the case. It's well thought of for a long time. Not being integrated enough there. This is not too much, I think, of a problem. And well, that's it basically. So what do you think you'll change? Last questions. What will change? I'll do more kite surfing. I hope, at least, because here in Paris we're a bit far away from the sea. There I can go just like a bit at lunchtime and do 2 hours of kite surfing. So it's a very, very important thing. So no, more seriously, what I won't change is blogging in French. I will still do it, even though, of course, my English focus will increase. I will still do my conference, Le Web 3, in December 11th and 12th this year again in Paris, and do it from there. And it's going to be, I think, a good bridge between Europe and the US. We were 1,300 last year from 37 countries, and I expect more this year. So join us in Paris if you're interested. And thank you very much for your help and attention and interest. I hope this podcast was helpful. If you have more questions, let's just keep going the conversation on my blog and on my Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the social software. Have fun and talk to you soon.